Hello, everyone. So it was brought to my attention at the session meeting yesterday that I actually hadn't posted the video for Bible study on Wednesday yet. I apologize about that. I was living La Vida Loca, so I just totally forgot to do it. But here it is. And this is actually, good because now you'll be prepped for Wednesday. You'll have it more fresh in your mind because we only read the first part of chapter 3 of Philippians this last week, and so this week we're going to read the second half. So you'll have it pretty close. You won't forget it over the course of the week. So like I said, we're not going to go through every detail. I'm just going to pick up on some of the things that we talked about and found as interesting. Now, this passage, this section of Philippians is most famous for like the part where Paul is talking about his past, right? So the whole thing here is that Paul is contrasting the beliefs of the Philippians and the beliefs of Paul with this group that you can see mentioned in verse 2 called dogs and evildoers, right? Who mutilate the flesh. That refers to this group of early Christian heretics, is kind of the word that we would use for them, who believe that salvation things could only be offered to you if you kept the commandments of the Old Testament and certain Jewish traditions, namely circumcision, which is why Paul is referring to the mutilation of the flesh, right? So they said that if you converted Christianity and you were a man, but you weren't circumcised, that means that you weren't actually saved, right? On the top of all other beliefs, according to Jewish tradition, right? So it affected both genders, but especially the big hang up for them was the circumcision thing. And the thing to note here is Paul contrast this with what he has done, right? So his whole point during this passage here is not to praise himself. He's just saying in the mind of these people, he should be the best, right? Because of what he has done. But righteousness doesn't come through works, right? It comes through faith. And so he launches into this whole thing about where he talks about how he's basically the perfect Jew in every way, right? He was circumcised on the 8th day. He was the tribe of Benjamin, right? He was a Hebrew of Hebrews. He was a Pharisee. He was a persecutor of the church, right? And he was blameless under the law. And I think that's kind of a hyperbolic type thing, speaking from the perspective of the Judaizers, because Paul obviously saw himself as a sinner now, sees himself as a sinner now when he's writing this, but at the time was blameless, believed himself to be blameless because he kept the law perfectly, right? Or he would claim anyway. But the point is that this isn't what defines him, right? These benefits that he got, or this way that he carried himself, as impressive as it might be to some, isn't actually what saves him or what matters to him anymore, right? Because then he immediately switches and he goes, but whatever gain I have, I count it as a loss for the sake of Christ. And he actually uses some pretty strong language for this. And in verse 8 right here, he refers to it as rubbish, right? And that Greek word there, I brought this up and it's pretty funny because most of our Bibles, you can check your own translations, or you can go online and look at a bunch of them at once. But a lot of them will use rubbish or garbage or waste. I can't remember what one person brought up, but it basically means poop, right? And so it's not, it's like the refuse that you would throw out into the street. That's the type of rubbish waste that it's talking about, but it would be specifically human waste that would be discarded. So that's how strong he's using here, right? He's using this language of that these things are kind of in some ways less than garbage in our mind, right? That they are things that he doesn't even care about anymore because of what Christ has done through him, through faith, right? So he's doing this in order to show the Philippians not to fall into this path, and that this is to be avoided, right? Because righteousness, as he says, from God that depends on faith. So that's his big thing, right? And the idea here is that once you have this, you're able to go through all of these different afflictions and difficulties because you already rest knowing what you have done through what has been done for you through Jesus Christ, right? So you don't have to fear death. Because remember, the overall theme of Philippians here is encouragement. So just remember that. And that's going to be a good setup for what we're going to talk about on Wednesday. So I hope to see you in the morning there, or Wednesday afternoon, hopefully, if I remember to upload this video, but I'm looking forward to it. So I will see you guys tomorrow for a theologue and then Wednesday from our Bible study. So peace out.